Great, thanks, Ali. And please, since it's us, especially since it's just a few of us on the phone, I want to make sure that we discuss strategies that are most relevant to your needs in Chicago and in Richmond. And I'll kind of tell you about the sort of big picture of what I'm working on and how regional chapter leaders are essential to the success of this uh, um, program. So I'll start with just a quick intro, and then I'll go into the overview of what we're building with the Alumni Career Management, and then I'll talk a little bit about what's on the horizon, and then really how you can help and utilize this yourself professionally. Um, so this is me. If you haven't met me in person, that's my picture there. Here's my contact information. I'm a big user of LinkedIn, so if you're on there, please send a note and let's connect, or you might get one from me. And then this is the website down here, the alumni.com, wmalumni.com/one network, that really is the location of all the programs I'll talk about today. So feel free, my cell is here. I'm based in DC. I don't know if Ali mentioned that. I can't remember. I don't think she mentioned that in the beginning. I'm based here in the Washington D.C. office, um, solely because of a couple reasons. I was living in this area and couldn't move. At the same time, it also made sense to have somebody in D.C. given the number of alumni we have in the Northern Virginia, Washington D.C., Maryland area. It's about a quarter of our alumni population are right here, and I can easily get to flights across the country go all the time to in and out of DC or Dulles, and I can get on the train or drive to nearby Virginia locations as well pretty easily. I come down to Williamsburg probably once or twice a month, depending on other special events that might bring me there. But I usually have meetings with colleagues. Is primarily my main purpose of going down to campus, or a big event with, um, say homecoming or Charter Day or things like that. So that's me. I know Carolyn Chrisman just joined, so hopefully she's also on the phone. Carolyn, if you need the call-in information, Ali can provide that via email. Um, oh, great. Carolyn, where are you calling in from? Oh, wonderful. Great. So all you missed was an intro about me, so that's nothing important. This is the more important stuff. So we're glad you could join us. So this statement really sums up what we're working towards as a community. So I came, and the One Tribe, One Family was well presented to me. I'm new to William and Mary a year and a half ago. Both as a just a member of the tribe. I'm not a graduate of William and Mary, but I've respected the institution as one of our top institutions in the world of higher education, and known many friends that have come through the halls and doors of William and Mary, and done very well for themselves, and are great members of our society. And I saw that, and I said, one tribe, one network. Let's leverage this together. And so really the programs I do are all supportive to this statement. So I hope that you'll read this and resonate with this and think about it in relation to your leadership roles within the regions that you serve. Um, so how do I do that? This is the model that I sort of sketched out in the beginning, is to really build ways of access both online and in person. So the in person uh, may seem like the main spot for regional leadership to focus on. However, I will say that even in an area like DC, where we have so many events going on and on and on throughout every month of the year, there is probably the number one uh, city of participants on the online, both webinars and online networking hours that I do. The alumni are from DC area, so they could be going to an event in person, but certainly it's not just the barrier of geographic issues that cause people to not be able to attend things. It's also other commitments, work and family lives, that may prohibit them from making something at a certain hour or in a certain location. So just keep that in mind, that everything doesn't have to be in person all the time. I don't not suggest that we do in person, but I do think that sometimes online can also provide a lot of value. Um, and so the online networking hours I'll talk on, regional events I'll talk on, about breakfast and business cards specifically. Tribe at Work, I'll briefly touch on, but that concept is basically building networks where we have high concentrations of alumni, or it doesn't have to be 100 alumni in one office, but it can certainly be 5 or 10 if there's a community of interest to connect one another. So think of yourselves as regional leaders and think of it as your peers in the workplaces as bringing together the community there, sending the message, and organizing some activities together as a tribe. And then I'll talk about webinars, and then I'll touch on the Hire the Tribe piece about what's on the horizon for that. So, and Carolyn, just as a heads up, if you have any questions, or I want people to interrupt me, so don't hesitate if you want me to explain something a little bit further. Yeah. So, quick question: have any of you participated in the online networking hours? Yes, no? Nope. Have you seen them marketed? Okay, there we go. I'm going to ask a question here. What is it that you think? Um, what do you? Why aren't you participating? What do you think would be the main reason? Well, I know I'd love to hear Carolyn. There's about 3 or 4 on the line, so don't worry. We have time to hear from everyone. It's not.
Well, it's a matter of time and priorities. Personally, I know people around the industry already. Priorities, and I wasn't always particularly aware of the situation.
Okay. No, I appreciate. I love the honesty because I want to know sort of what the barriers are, and I'll tell you some stats about it, about who is participating that might, you know, help kind of get you a better sense of the program. And I also want to explain what it is because I think a lot of people don't really quite get what we're doing with it. And, Chris, have you participated by any chance? Still with us? Enough, Chris. Okay. Um, well, I'll explain. The program is basically online text chat, so one-on-one conversation. So imagine you're hosting an event at a bar or at a restaurant, and there's 10 people at that table, and you each kind of are having a conversation. That's basically what's allowing you to do through this technology. Um, it basically provides you an opportunity to um, have a one-on-one conversation through texting, through text chat, so typing on your computer. And you have a little profile where you've answered a few questions, and it connects back to, you can link your LinkedIn profile there to that. And, at the end of it, you'll have archives of the conversation so you can go back and see how you can follow up with one another. And the idea behind it is if we have around 60,000 alumni on LinkedIn, of the millions on LinkedIn, we have about 60,000 of our alumni community on there. And my hope is that how do we connect one another to each other in ways that we didn't realize we could help one another? How do we really live by that leverage the tribe concept, so that somebody like if Bob, if I didn't know you were in publishing and I have a friend who's really looking for someone with background in publishing, and I happen to know you're connected and we did some searching and I was a connector for that person to you, I could then help make that introduction and then you would have a way to give back your expertise, not just to your immediate network, but to those in the entire tribe community that are further connected to you. So that's why we do these events, is to really help people randomly connect with one another around some shared affinity. The William & Mary affinity is the number one denominator, but then the second one we bring around themes. So many of the themes are around industry affinity. So broad industry topics, say STEM or arts, media, and communications, business and finance, or business and economics. government and law, and then or regions. So I've actually hosted a number of them that have been focused on East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Central, South, in key cities where we have concentrations of alumni. For the one that on 64 has been like Richmond, Williamsburg, and Norfolk. Um, and then we've done some with Chicago and California and New York and DC and all over the East Coast. Um, so that's any questions about that technology? Does that help give you a visual a bit? Happy to answer anything or ways that you think it might be more relevant to improve it. Just stats about it too. I can tell you that we've had over 2,000 participants in the 25 that I've hosted over the past year and a half. We've had over 10 or 12 countries represented. People graduating from the classes in the 50s to the more recent to current students participating. People in remote parts of Africa using a satellite phone to connect into the internet to participate. People from coffee shops in New York, Starbucks, sitting down on their laptop and participating. So the idea you can do it on your mobile. People have participated on the phone. I mean, on the airplane using the Wi-Fi there. So it's pretty cool, the accessibility point. But I will move on just to kind of get through everything. But feel free if you want to ask any questions specifically to any of these. I'll be happy to dive further into the detail. Breakfast and business cards. These are a few pictures of some of the events that we've done. Top left was in San Francisco. The center top is here in DC. We have a really neat Washington Center, if you haven't been able to visit it, that the students come up and study throughout the year. So there's a great conference room that we use for classroom, as well as guest events like these for alumni. Top right was Boston. We did a couple events in Boston, and we have a third one in April coming up. Bottom left again is in DC, and the bottom right was actually that was the networking event at last year's William Marion weekend in DC that we did. So it wasn't exactly a breakfast; it was just before the RAF debate. But we're going to do another event in New York for the weekend. That's going to be Wednesday night prior to the Thursday of the weekend. That's going to be focused on entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking. That will be hosted at WeWork in Grand Central. WeWork's one of those shared workspace locations around the globe, and so we have a neat panel that we've put together, and Graham is going to be facilitating it from the Mason Schools. Graham Henshaw leads up the entrepreneurial center at the Mason School of Business. So breakfast and business cards simply are regional-based breakfasts where we gather alumni professionally in the morning, say 7:30 or 8, so that they can go in on get an early start, beat the traffic, and get out just in time to make it to work for a meeting or to-dos in the morning. They're more affordable as far as hosting costs, as well as just the cost of attending. And I tried to reach a time and an audience where we weren't doing a lot of programming. Most of our programming tends to be in the evening hours or on the weekends. And so the idea was, how do we get these professional programs in a space that's not going to compete with our other successful programs that we've been doing for years? And so breakfast seemed to be like the right spot of the day, as well as it opens it up to another group of our community that maybe haven't been able to attend for various reasons, whether their work just keeps them late beyond happy hour times, or their family commitments have to get them home by 5. For whatever reasons, it's sometimes very difficult. So these also attract people because we bring in experts within the region, within the industry that we're trying to gather. So some regions for example, the top left San Francisco one, we decided the first one would not be industry focused. We just brought together a breakfast conversation so that people would network with one another. But for the top center, it was an energy focus. So we had people, experts on sustainability, but also experts in leadership roles at Exelon Corporation and other organizations. And then bottom left was a real estate breakfast discussing commercial real estate issues. Top right was a person high up at Bain Corporation discussing leadership development and professional development related topics for people in Boston. And so the topics range. I was telling Bob before everyone else joined that we're doing one on April 18th in Richmond, featuring an alumnus from Capital One who leads up the credit card fraud department there, discussing finance risk issues, whether it's cybersecurity risk or other finance trends today impacting the finance services community. So that's a program where I think a lot of opportunity for regional support through the chapter's leadership could be vital to the success of these. The idea is not a very complicated program to organize and put off intentionally, because we don't want it to be like, it's not intended to be the weekend. It's not intended to be this big annual event. It's the idea is to come together frequently enough so that you can leverage this community for your professional needs and relate to those industries in our regions that are most relevant to that location. And it engages alumni that maybe haven't been engaged in a while. So if we have experts in our community that we haven't been able to get to come to things, this might resonate with them. Any thoughts, ideas on this one? I'll pause for a second.
Carolyn, I think you're a great idea. The trouble that we have is we're in a smaller area and relatively rural. So I don't have 40 people to even try to bring in on something. I didn't know if, as you talk to them, there, things that groups can do in areas that aren't Boston and DC, where you don't have all that many alone.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's similar to the tribe at work concept. I mean, if you got 5 people together, that's a great lunch, right? You could do coffee at a local. It doesn't have to be rent a space. You could do this, but not as big scale as like an office space, right? Or you literally could do it at someone's conference room and just pick up a box of the Starbucks coffee or whatever the local coffee place is, and some donuts, and have a great conversation with others in the community. I think it really is something that I would help you look at the community a bit. So what I use is, are you familiar with the LinkedIn alumni tool?
On LinkedIn, but not necessarily alumni.
Yeah, let me see if I can share a screen real quick to show you something. Give me 1 second to log into LinkedIn here. I realized I was not in it. Okay. So if I think I can do this. Give me 1 second to pull up the right thing here, and this will be a good answer to your question. Can you see this now? Do you all see like okay. Oh, I know why. Let me go back to, here we go. If I pull this over here, and then I do that, do you see it now? Okay, so you can see that there's 50,000 something alumni here. You were in Roanoke, right? Here we go. So there's about 397 on LinkedIn. That doesn't mean that that's the accurate number of alumni living in Roanoke. I can see that a lot of them are at Virginia Tech, either in grad school or working there in higher ed. And so I see education, I see it as a big trend of obviously what they do. So then I go down, and here are all the alumni. So this is where I start to look and see where we have concentrations of alumni, who are the people that we might want to engage. I then take data off of this, I run it through what we have on our internal advanced system, and I sort of try to put together interesting correlations. And then that's how I'm doing these. So a lot of this can be useful from a standpoint of chapters to look at sort of this tool. This is accessible to anybody um, on LinkedIn, and I recommend checking it out. So the way to get to this on LinkedIn is to go up to, if I go in here and I type in on my main, this is my main LinkedIn. So if I go in here and I type in William and Mary, sorry, it's a little slow. I did type it, I thought. Okay, there we go. You pick the one with the green background and the white cipher. It opens this, and then there's a button that says See Alumni. So here's the asterisk to all of this. What I showed you is the old alumni page. I prefer that over this new one, but the new one, so they still have this option up here on the top. It says old alumni page. I prefer that over the old one, over the new one. So until it changes fully, I'm still going to use this one. Um, so that's what I recommend, and I hope that others found that useful. So I'm going to go back and um, now we're back. Do you now see the breakfast and business cards? Great. Okay. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about webinars uh, and what those are about and how the regions can help me on that. So really, webinars are pretty self-explanatory. They're online. What we're doing right now, this is the same technology I use for our presentations with alumni. But what's different is that I'm looking to alumni to be the expert presenters. So I'm looking for people, say, Bob, if you wanted to talk about publishing, today, and not necessarily like how you got into your career. It's more issues related to things that you could apply that people would benefit from. Is that so? These are career related topics, but the upcoming one, Rebecca Stanton is an alumna down in Florida that I got to know actually through LinkedIn, and she did one on communications back in December, and I said, Rebecca, I'd love to do another webinar with you. What are some topics you think would be of interest? Well, she gave me a list, and I immediately saw stress and positivity and negativity issues, and I thought, oh, I could use that. I said, I mean, I think that could be a really beneficial webinar for all of us to kind of look at today, um, in our lives. And I thought, is it straight career focused? No, but it applies to the work we do and how we balance things in life and how to be a great colleague and a great person to others, right? Um, so that's the topic in May. But this order, so the first one we did was in July of last year, and then I did nine of them since then. So take a look at that list sometime online. They last an hour with Q&A, and they take place at 12 o'clock Eastern time. But I'm looking at presenters all over the country, so you don't have to be in a location. You do it from your office or home, wherever you have good internet connection and a quiet enough space to present. And I work with you on fine-tuning the blurb that we put together for marketing purposes, and then I work on getting you comfortable with the technology. If you don't even have a headset, I could send over a headset. So yeah, that's that tool. So if there's an expertise that you would love to share that you can't necessarily, so I guess Carolyn, to your point earlier, if you don't have enough people to congregate, but you have an expertise that you'd love to share with a larger community of professionals in your area of interest that maybe don't have enough of a quorum in Roanoke, you could do a webinar maybe to gather that more across the globe. And that's not just you. I mean, it's anybody in your community that you're working with. Um, so, any questions about webinars? Cool. So this is a recap of what we said we would talk about. The tribe at work I mentioned earlier is basically working with me to help communicate things that would be professional opportunities to share with your community at your work. But also not just professional events, things that William Mary wants to share with you to help be the messenger of that communications to your colleagues that are alumni. Um, the recruiting Hire the Tribe, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next portion. So I think I've covered everything here. So what's next? So going back to this for a second, like recruiting Hire the Tribe right now directs you to really the area where students are looking for opportunities. So if you are hiring talent of current student need, whether that is a undergrad or graduate level student, recent graduate, either an internship or a full-time job, you will use the Tribe Careers platform or the Simplicity platform for the law school and the Mason School Business. And those are the ways that my colleagues in the career centers and I work together to direct employers, whether they're alumni or not, to recruit talent of current students. However, when I started, there really wasn't a tool for alumni to search for jobs as well as to post jobs. And so I've been trying to figure out what is the solution. Do we add that to Simplicity and use that? You certainly can use Simplicity if you're alumni to search, and you can certainly post things that are more for a recent grad or any alumni of all age. However, the tool is not as easy to connect alumni into the system as well as employers to post. I wanted something that was much easier for any of us in the community to share with one another in a very informal way. So you didn't have to be the hiring manager or the person formally submitting the job posting. So it's not an actual job board. But what I'm going to show you next is answering this question: a place for alumni to post or search job opportunities and share expertise around professional interests with fellow alumni. And this is the newest tool. We haven't actually rolled this out yet. So I'm asking that you participate in a quiet phase of this launch. So I'm going to go ahead and for purposes of this demo, go back to our share screen here in the other browser for a second and load this site. So give me 1 second here to get this up on the screen. So I'm going to go back over here. And do you all see the switchboard now? Great. So this is what it looks like. And I've asked a few people to post some things just to kind of get the ball rolling, and I'm going to ask you all that are chapter leaders to do the same, but not yet share it beyond just a few of your people that you think that would resonate with this. The idea behind it is really to ask and offer something that you can provide professionally with other alumni, whether that's as niche as something in your region or as broad to the entire alumni community around your industry expertise or a question that you have. I really don't have an exact vision as to what it's going to look like. I want it to be slightly organic and allow it to be shaped by the alumni themselves. However, I don't want it to be a place where we just have a bunch of events listed, because I think that distracts from what we actually do have. What I really want to do is solve something that we don't have, and that is a place for alumni to share jobs and to really discuss industry questions together in a private community that's not on LinkedIn, that's not on Facebook, that's within our own systems, that is accessible using social login, that is allows for messaging together, that can direct outside, that is searchable by keywords and many things. So you can see here, I could search by Washington, D.C., and these are the things that come up for Washington, D.C. I could search by online. I think there was something, or a webinar or something I saw that was the United Nations. Oh, it is a webinar, but um, so it had something in there that was. This is not my. I was talking to Anna the other day. I think I would update it slightly different, but I think she was kind enough to get a start on this, and I think it's going to be this type of stuff that we're going to be doing that would allow. So you can see that this was Jack Edgar, who's Allie's colleague up here in DC with me, and he moved up here from Williamsburg. Actually, he was down there for a year and a half, and now he's up in DC in our advancement team here, and was just offering his opportunity to help get involved, but also, hey, I'm new to the area, love to connect with others. What do people think about this?
Probably based upon, those that use it will make it good. So you kind of have to see how that evolves.
Exactly.
This is housed in the college's website.
No, it will be. I haven't linked it together yet. It's live. It technically is a functioning switchboard right now, but I haven't linked it to the site that I shared in the beginning. But if you want the URL, it is this. Let me just hide this. It is WM. I'll show you this. It's the one that's on the bottom there. Do you see that URL? So feel free to log in, create your accounts are pre-populated with the. I pre-populated the system with the emails that we have in file, your preferred emails. So that you should be pre-approved. Um, and my hope, there's a lot of neat things. You can set up interests. What I hope to do is get a few what we call early adopters to really post. Once we have around 50 posts, then I will market it broadly. And then when we do that, then I will probably do some sessions on getting some of the. So Switchboard is a company that I purchased this technology for the university. So this is an outside vendor that customized it for us, but it's within a sort of structure that we have to kind of use. So there's some things we can edit and some things we can't. But it has the look and feel of a William & Mary brand. And I chose, you can see that some of these topics I didn't really want to get too heavily involved in the category. So I brought in the 4 specific ones: jobs, advice, volunteering, and other. So you could be talking about, your church, you're involved with Habitat for Humanity, and they're looking for a new board member, or you're looking for an expert to help with marketing for your board. So there's a bunch of things you could try to produce in here, and I tried to make it so that it's for all levels of experience. So Bob, you could utilize this. I think in some ways, as you start to explore, when you finish all the house stuff and you've had enough days at the golf course and you wanted to kind of see what's next, you could even have conversations with people through this.
I'm actually not thinking like that right now. I'm thinking about how I can make my drives go further.
Oh, well, you can even put that in there. Anybody, a professional golfer that could give me some advice, lesson or two. You could say, I'm looking for a golf instructor in Richmond. There's an ask. But in all seriousness, I mean, and I'm not joking on that. I mean, I think actually you could do that in this sense. Anybody else want to share what their thoughts are on this that is online? Any questions about it, or?
I'm just curious if you've seen other situations, places where sort of the utility has been used.
Yes. So I'll go ahead and actually log into Oberlin switchboardhq.com. So Oberlin is one of the other schools that has participated in this. So they have over 2,600 members now of the switchboard. They've had over 5,000 connections. The one thing that they do, and I was careful, I didn't want to initially start with the students' involvement. So these are, some of them are students posting or alumni posting about students' needs, or so it's not solely alumni to alumni. I intentionally designed it for alumni because I felt like we didn't have that vehicle right now. Um, and I really wanted alumni to uh, realize that although they might be in a point in their career where they think they are fully connected and have their network, which is probably accurate to some extent, there are ways that they can leverage the tribe, not just only give back. And I really want to um, encourage that at all stages. So this is an example, Bob, of a place where they're using it for all sorts of stuff. And I can just pick on the jobs and most recent, and I can say Washington D.C. So here are the ones that were posted since January. Looks like, um, and then here, so this is their. So that's the kind of thing. It's very informal. You can easily post it. A friend emails you, I'm looking for some talent. Do you know anybody with this expertise? And they say, no, but I know the William Mary talent. They're really great. So let me send this to my alumni. You're not vouching for anybody. You're not saying this is a reference. You're just encouraging members of the tribe to help one another and to open doors for one another.
Well, it's interesting here. You got people looking for jobs and also moving to Pittsburgh looking for housing.
Yeah. So that could be the other. I don't want it to be a bunch of housing tips just because I don't want it to be solely on that, but I don't want it not to include some of that if that's what makes sense. I think it should be a little bit of both.
Well, yeah, well, you know, you open up a conversation, people have the needs they have at the moment.
Exactly.
Meets another, you're looking for housing, you talk to someone, what else are they doing? Who knows if that works on? But you're making contact with someone who, besides knowing something about housing, knows about a lot of other things as well.
Absolutely. So that's why we call it, this idea of switchboard was like a bunch of switches of the classic switchboard mentality here. Okay, so let me just kind of wrap up here. I mean, that was really this is my online reminder to go online here. These are kind of like the three things: filter through, then you can actually directly message, and it is accessible through an iOS app for iPhones. Okay.
Position to filter through the asks and offers, to filter through.
Yep.
So you get to go in and look for the things you care about right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a job or maybe it's something else entirely.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is that you can set up your interests. So let me actually see if I can show you mine here. If I go back to ours for a second here, and I'm going to log in using my LinkedIn credentials, so it should automatically load for me because I already set that up. So here, if you look at my um, down here are my interests. So I put all of these in. So it will email me and ping me when there's things that are posted that are relevant to what my interests are in. When somebody posts an ask or an offer. So it's neat. And I could even find others in searching the interests that have similar interests to me. And then message them directly through this. So it has a networking component to it, like just finding people to connect with. Okay, so Ali, anything that you want me to share on that? That any questions that you think?
No, I mean, I think this is going to be huge in helping us connect with one another, and I think our alumni and volunteers are constantly looking for avenues in which they can talk to people outside of their normal area. So this is going to be really huge in helping with that.
Great. So has anybody joined us? I know. I'm thinking. I think Chris, are you back on? I know you. Oh, any thoughts about this stuff that you've been seeing?
I was actually most interested because our board's been discussing how to have more networking events.
Yep.
And when you had the breakfast card, that's one that we've uh, had an idea of, but we weren't really sure is how to make it move forward, especially since Chicago is such a quiet area and we don't know this location wise what's the best location to have it, when, Saturday or Sunday. Just a bunch of questions. Then they get smaller questions, but they add up.
Yeah. And that's
Of course, too.
yeah.
Another
Well, um,
something I could. Maybe I understand that I can work with you and Allie on.
absolutely. That's what I was going to suggest. Is that I had a conversation about it almost a year ago, maybe with is it Andrew? I think it was Andrew in Chicago. Um,
Yeah.
and I was trying to work with him on something. And then I think it just never. I never heard back from the committee as far as like whether there one before, and so I'd love to revisit that. I think there is a lot of opportunity in Chicago to do many of these events. So my whole concept with it is rather than to worry where and when and all that, just let's just do one. Let's do one on, get it on the ground, get it done, and then do another one. I'm confident that they'll be successful if we position it in a way that's not trying to accommodate everyone, in a way that I'm confident there's enough professionals in legal roles in Chicago. There's enough professionals in uh, marketing and in finance related stuff. I mean, Chicago is a hub of business, so I think we can certainly find a number of industries to cover throughout the year. The challenge that I would say for you to think about with the board would be when do we want to position this? And I'm not talking about day of the week necessarily that when, but looking at the calendar of when things are happening, like the standard ones, the Yule logs, the Charter Day celebrations, and One Tribe One Day events, and figuring out when are we going to have room for this? When do we want to position this? Now, granted, not everyone's going to go to all these events, but also, if you are trying to get a lot of people to one, and then you do something else nearby that you don't want to just you don't want to jeopardize the success of the other things that have been successful. Um, but where do we have gaps? Where do we see a need? And that's where I thought the timing of the event could be most um, helpful in that it's early enough that it's not interfering with some of the evening events that have been done.
Yeah, we've been fortunate with the Mountain Man hosted the last few years an event here in Chicago every January before students actually go back to school.
Yep.
Current students. So we've been very fortunate with that aspect. So we're just trying to figure out a way we can have kind of an ongoing um, networking event. And I had heard about Washington D.C. having a networking brunch. We talked about it, but yeah, never had
Yeah. I mean, I've hosted 20 actually in the past year and a half. Several in DC. As I've got one in Richmond coming up. I've got a Philly one. I got a Boston. I've had three in Boston. Seattle, two of them. San Francisco, two. We even did one in San Jose recently. Um, so I definitely want to get Richmond more involved. Chicago, New York. We were going to do more. It's kind of a challenge similar, I think, to the Chicago conversation too. But I think those are some key areas where Atlanta we want to do some, where we know we have great alumni doing amazing things. Let's bring them together for professional connections, um, and I think it will enhance all the things that we are doing, whether that is social activities, community involvement, and other things around the regional programming. these are the things that you can do. So right up there is help us plan networking breakfast. I mean, it's not. Don't feel like you have to do it on your own. In fact, I would prefer working with you because it helps design it in a way that um, connects back to what we're doing and kind of brand it in a consistent manner across the various cities. I mean, each city has its own unique way of doing things, but it will help us with sort of the future programming as well. Establish a tribe at work network. If you have a workplace that you think would resonate with this, or you know some alumni already that you're getting together for lunch, why not just let me know and officially call it a tribe at work network. Um, Post asks and offers in Switchboard. So that is something relatively new. So that I hope that you can explore it, at least log in and try something. Post it if you don't. There's nobody looking at it other than you right now. So um, note that there's not going to be a response other than from me and maybe two others. But the idea is that expect that you have an audience of 5,000 looking at your post. In that sense, present a webinar if you have an expertise that you would like to get involved in that. Provide ideas and feedback. So I got some great ideas and feedback from this call. So if you have more, please feel free to email me and call me if you have any ideas and want to chat more. Tell your friends. So connect, learn, share, succeed. Pretty straightforward. I think I put my contact information here one more time. Any last minute questions in the few minutes that we have remaining?
I have one, but I'll send it to you as an email.
Great. Um, what do people think? Did you learn something that we hadn't presented to you already via email or LinkedIn or?
No, I thought this was actually great. Uh, I just actually one question. Is there, or maybe, is there, I know you talked about the switchboard. Is there, I thought there was an alumni um, website to see jobs.
There is a job portal through the Cohen Career Center,
Oh, that's
but that's for students. And so,
okay.
yes, you can access that, but the idea behind it is that that is more of an official job portal. This is really alumni to alumni saying, my company's hiring. If you're interested, here's the post. Let me know. Here's my name. So it's not like a formal job posting. Because what I found was I would send alumni to Simplicity, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, this is going to take forever. I got to do this account. I got to do this. I got to, it's like taking all these steps." And also, I wasn't we didn't market that to current alumni, right? So it's sort of this catch-22 is where could we send them? And so that's where we came up with this concept is kind of beyond just job sharing. It offers that and some. Is that what do you think? I mean, would you use it, Chris?
I would, yes, I would use it. I mean, I don't, I know you talked earlier even about
What is your job right now? What do you do professionally?
I work for the, I work federal government in finance. My position is called revenue manager. I deal with forecasting, rental space for agencies.
Okay.
So it's just a little harder, I think, for I think that oh maybe I can post a job.
Well, you could direct them to USA Jobs and then uh,
Oh, that's true.
say I'm a contact here if you have questions about it or want to know more about working in the finance world. And is it OPM that you're part of or
We well, now we general services.
General Service? Okay, GSA. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think that's the um, way to look at it. And definitely join LinkedIn. I'm with your wife on that one. My wife's not on Facebook, but she's on LinkedIn, so that is and I'll be happy if you have questions about it. You can email me. We can set up a time to chat. Allie, anything that you wanted to make sure I touch on that I didn't touch on that we think would be valuable?
No, I think you covered all the bases. I think
just don't. I just asked, since I shared some stuff that was not to post it on social media out publicly. That's all. I would just ask. But oh, I was gonna one thing I had a question about that I wanted to make sure that I clarify in my head. I was thinking about this. There are I do about 20% of my job. I am helping alumni with career change decisions. So I do have conversations, one-on-one conversations with alumni about where they are in their career move and in a job search or in wanting to change industries or wanting to move to another city. And so what I do primarily is not as much of a counseling conversation. Um, I have some counseling background, but I really focus primarily on coaching them on all the resources that I've been talking to you about today, and also coaching them on networking and best approach to networking. So I say that because if there's a need to do something in a region around networking or best practices of networking, we can talk about ways that I could do a workshop for you all too. So that's another idea. If that's of help. And with that, Allie, I think we've completed an hour. Thanks everyone. No, my pleasure, and thank you all for being active leaders in our community of alumni in our regions. And I wish you a great rest of the week. And Go Tribe, One Day programs, I'm sure are keeping you busy. So have fun with them, and look forward to seeing all great things on Tuesday.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care, Chris. Bye, Carolyn.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.